Welcome to Cashflow Savannah. Chandler, how are you? It's been a while since we recorded together. You doing okay?
Yeah, we've been, I wouldn't say busy, but we've been just kind of getting some things together to get ready for the busy season. So,
I would say we have been slammed getting ready for the busy season.
yeah,
We're replacing appliances, we're doing work and units, we're planning out our sales strategy for next year, and we're also getting ready. We're taking on new owners. This is a big time to switch. If you're needing a property manager, now is the best time to switch because your calendar isn't full. It's not a good time to switch in, mid heavy season. It's still doable, but it's a little bit more difficult. And that's what we want to talk about today. We've been actually turning away more owners than we've been picking up on the property management side at Sid was here.
yeah, no, we've it's been more long-term rentals, but I think that's what the investors have pivoted to. It makes more sense, especially if you don't want to put the time in to really understand the short-term rental space. I think you have to understand it, you have to educate yourself, and just know where Airbnb and all that is going towards. Like I think it's kind of changing. Like it's people are kind of saying that Airbnb 2.0, like what's next for it. And that's really what I've been kind of keeping my eye on is all right, so what's Airbnb want? Like they clearly want a certain type of property, and you just got to know what property Airbnb wants.
Well, and as we've said on the show, and we're going to say again, probably 2 million more times, the expectation of the guest has changed. 5 years ago, you could put any house onto Airbnb or any short-term rental platform and it would book. But now we are oversaturated. Every place in the market, every place in the country is oversaturated. And so we're starting to see those lower end properties kind of fall out, fall out, fall out. And that's what Chandler's referring to with the long-term rentals. A lot of people are looking at the numbers and going, you know what? I'm just going to do a long-term rental. And I tell my clients all the time, you can furnish it later. Like there's nothing, if you own the home in today's prices, that's the smartest thing you can do. And then, 3 years from now, you can easily make it into a medium-term rental. But if the numbers don't work today, it doesn't mean you shouldn't buy the house as long as it works as a long-term rental. But there is a softening in the market. And, what I want to say very strongly is that as the property managers, we're putting ourselves in the position of where we're going to put this product out on the market. We're going to attract guests and we want it to be a very good product and we need it to get very good reviews. The better the reviews, the more money it makes. And the worst reviews, that's a ton of work on us because we have angry guests. And then we end up with an angry owner over the angry guests. We end up looking like heels, right? Because we're in the middle of all of it. And so, we've just begun to be just very, very choosy here at Sid Was Here. We're really looking for the luxury product that we know is going to book. It's already in great condition. And part of luxury is the neighborhood. Okay. I have written about this for Bigger Pockets. I'm always talking about it. But one of the biggest reasons we deny, units under management for short-term rentals, okay, I'm only speaking furnished. For long-term rentals, it doesn't matter. We'll take it as long as I don't feel like it's a, horrendous area. But the first owner that we denied just very recently, it was because of the street. And Chandler, you were behind me. We were driving in, and this particular property, I drove in and it was an area of town that's pretty good. It's, when I heard, oh, it's in Sandfly, I was like, awesome. Sandfly's a great area. I think of it as being very high end. So I was like, cool, yes, I want to come see. But when we drove in the street, it was really tough. There were a lot of broken vehicles. There were literally tires everywhere. I counted about 12 tires just sitting on the side of the road as I was. I literally, I can't help it, but I see the neighborhood as a guest. If I were staying here, would I be excited about the short-term rental that I booked? And my answer was absolutely no. I was horrified. How'd you feel that day? I know you've got a similar feeling.
No, so I've been seeing this for like a couple of years now. Is investors just have this like let me get the cheapest thing and try to make it work. Um, so yeah, I it's funny. Driven through the area the week prior. We went to the house, so I had already known. I was like, I was kind of already checked out. Like this is not a good area. I know this isn't going to work. Um, but yeah, it was one of those properties where the agent was like, "Hey, this is it." Sight unseen buyer. Sadly, the agent didn't educate her enough. Um, And honestly, you can't blame the agent on this. Like you should have done your due diligence as well. Like don't the agent's supposed to help, I agree, but like this is your money. Like do your due diligence. Like, hey, is this neighborhood worth it? Um, so yeah, that was that. And
Okay,
it's
let's
that,
talk about the agent for a second. I
yeah, talk
I have
about it.
been an agent forever. I've only been an agent for less than 5 years, and so I've bought a lot of properties with an agent. But I was here on the ground. I drove everything before I even called an agent. I knew exactly what I wanted, and I went for it. Okay, that's me, and I live here. So I did use a bunch of agents that had no clue about short-term rentals, and that's okay because I knew what I was doing. Okay. But in this particular case, the owner of the property, this person bought it a while ago, a year or two ago, sight unseen from out of state. And that's her choice, and that's totally fine. I work with people that do that all the time. That's not an issue. The issue is that she chose an agent that may or may not have said, I don't know what the agent told her about their level of expertise, but whoever was her boots on the ground, we're assuming it was the agent, they had no clue about a short-term rental or the expectation of the guest. And when Channel and I tell you we don't, this is not a good idea, we're telling you because not only do we want to handle that transaction as your agent, but as your property manager, we're going to have to back up those words. If I tell someone I'm going to manage for you and I'm going to bring you $200,000 a year in revenue, and then I can't back that up with $200,000 in revenue, I'm going to go out of business. Okay. The reason we've been in business for so long is because we're honest with people and we tell them the truth and we give honest numbers and honest feedback. And if I tell you I won't do a furnished rental in that neighborhood, I can't tell you it's not safe. I can't tell you I don't feel safe. I'm a licensed agent. I can't even use the word safe, but I can say I will not manage this as a furnished rental. I can say that. And I mean that. And
I
this is
can say
for cases. Yeah.
it. Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's like if you're not going to come see it, like ask the agent, which I've seen you do. You pull down the entire street just videoing, hey, here's what I think about this street. Um, or you don't even give them you just kind of you can't say, but you just say, hey, here's the street. Take it or leave it as you see it. But and another thing that kind of a tip that I've kind of learned is like don't do it at like 10 in the morning. Like drop do it like in the afternoon. Just get an idea, like see like um you just get a better idea like in the afternoon. And because like one of the reviews in this neighborhood, we were looking at the reviews and like one review, the neighbors while they were walking the dog said, I kidnap pretty ladies like you. And like that's like so maybe while you're driving through, somebody might chirp at you and be like, oh my goodness, like, okay, this makes sense. So it's like you want to get to see, like, you want to say, is somebody going to talk to me? Is somebody going to say something like that? That was a pretty, I haven't seen anything like that. I was like, wow. Um,
If you get any heebie-jeebies during the day, you know it's going to be worse in the evening, right?
yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was interesting because I sat down. We knew this had been rented and they wanted to switch managers. And I said, we want to see your reviews. And when we started reading the reviews, I was shocked at some of
Yeah.
the frustrations with the area. And someone, even a guest had had their car stolen. I mean, that's how
Oh my
bad it was.
God.
Um,
Yeah. It's,
It was terrible. And I liked the owner. It was nothing. The house itself, may I say, was great. So she's been able to get booked based on the photos, and she has great decor. She has a nice house. She has a great product. But guests, when they show up to a home like that, and the home, it's nothing about the home at that point, but they're scared driving in, they're going to review you poorly. You're going to lose money because the guest is going to be unhappy. You've got to have a decent neighborhood and a great house. It can't be just one. Okay. It has to be both.
and another thing is like, quit doing that because it gives like Airbnb such a bad reputation. Like that guest probably never wants to stay in an Airbnb
Yeah.
ever again. Like they're super like timid to get. They're like, I'm just gonna stay at a hotel. So like you're kind of hurting everybody when you're doing these bad Airbnbs because they just don't want to book there ever again. They at least know like when they get a hotel, like this hotel is going to be. You just know they're in a decent area. Um, But yeah, I hate that for other hosts too because it hurts them as well.
Yeah. And we got to protect the space and our reputation and everything. So, we sat down with this owner, we had this conversation, and this is about the 30th time I've talked to an owner that bought a home out of state, sight unseen, that was in a bad area that was very nicely decorated. I mean, we deal with this all the time. This is just one of many. And I told this owner that I said, you're not the first to go through this. Now, luckily for this owner, they have bought it well enough that, they're going to be able to, they have a couple of exit strategies because I said flat out, you can find another property manager. That's totally up to you. I won't do that. What I am willing to do, I'll list it for sale for you. I don't recommend that because she got a great price on a great house and the neighborhood is going to come up at some point, but not tomorrow, right? I said, I'll list it for you for sale and I'll list it for you as a long-term rental. Once we looked at the numbers on that, this owner was able to do that. And so they're going to get through the high season, which they already have bookings for, and then they're going to take out the furniture, which we're going to probably help with. We can help with that. We can help remove furniture. We do that all the time. And we're going to flip it into a long-term rental. And when you have a long-term rental, the tenant sees the area the day they look at the house. Like you're not doing a bait and switch on anyone. That's a very honest transaction. The rent is going to be lower because of the area. Like I can put my name behind that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's one thing is that we can provide that's really a cool thing.
That's right.
You can do it's a trifecta. We can do
Yep.
it all. So,
You,
yeah, I feel bad for the owner. Like I get it, but it's just best case. And honestly, people, I think we used to be kind of timid to like give people that feedback, but like she like really appreciated that. She kind of like perked up when we told her that. She was like, "I appreciate you telling it, like just telling it to me straight."
Mhm.
And they kind of gave me a little bit more confidence. But hey, you know what? People like appreciate like it might not be what they want to hear.
Right.
They're gonna at least appreciate that. Hey, this is what we think, and because everybody else will be like, beautiful home. This will make $200,000, but yeah, we're gonna cut it straight. So
Absolutely. So this day, this is literally all one day. We left there and I went to look at a listing for another buyer and it was a beautiful home. I mean, the photo's gorgeous. It's located nearby, near Sandfly, which is again, very good area. It's already furnished. It's a licensed operating county, Chatham County, Georgia short-term rental. And I had a buyer meeting me there. Well, this buyer in particular, which you know very well, Chandler, this buyer does luxury short-term rentals, which is why I really like working with him. He's a super interesting guy, very, very successful in this space. I know exactly the product that he wants. And so I left, this other house and I go to house number two to meet my buyer. And I'm driving in the neighborhood and I was like, I knew right away this was not going to work for this particular buyer because he's so into luxury. Now, this other neighborhood, it wasn't as rough as the first one. Okay. There were no tires on the street. There might have been a few broken down cars, but not many. But this was a C minus, area. The neighborhood was okay. The house was gorgeous. They have to match. You need a gorgeous house in a gorgeous neighborhood. And I wanted to say, I don't think this is talked about enough. Don't ever do a short-term rental or a medium-term rental that's in anything less than a B class area. You need B class or it's in long-term rental. Period. I can't even say it more clearly. And sure enough, my buyer who lives out of state had flown in here for another project and he wanted to see this. He was like, absolutely, I would never buy this house. This will not work for my purposes. And I said, I agree completely. It's not that the owner did a bad job. It's a great house with amazing decor. I can't even say that strongly enough. But they're getting such bad reviews that they're selling. They're losing money now because of those bad reviews. And we're seeing that right now in this market. We're at the end of 2024 and things are tough. Furniture rentals are oversaturated and these lower end owners are having to sell out. They can't make it any longer. They're just not making any money or they're making very little money. And that's really the case here. I know you've looked at that house, Chandler. What are your thoughts on that? You know the area. Actually, you did a flip right around the corner from this house.
yeah, so one thing I'll tell you is like just drive around like with your girlfriend or wife or whatever. They'll tell you straight up, no, let's get out of here.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a little tip if you want to know how you really feel. Because I mean, honestly, those are the most of the people that will complain about the neighborhood are going to be the ladies.
Yeah.
Um, they're probably the first people like guys would just be like, okay, whatever, like we'll just sleep here for a couple nights and deal with it. But yeah, ladies, they want to feel safe, and I understand. Like I want to feel safe too. Um, but yeah, this
You want to know when your girlfriend or wife or daughter, goes to a home that they are safe, right? You want to
yeah.
book on a platform and have that security. I think that's extremely important. And
Hmm.
I want to also bring up, something that you and I have dealt with in the past. We know of an investor here in Savannah. He owns 5 units and they are luxury. Let me tell you, the decor is amazing. And then he has the numbers to back it up. Okay. Very good numbers, very good revenue, all the things. But I go to look at the home for the first time and I'm nervous. Okay. And I have a very high tolerance for these rougher areas. I'm in them all the time. And I was looking around and I'm like, oh my, I hated the area actually. And I actually videoed it very heavily for my buyer because I was just like, look, this is tough. Well, I called the agent. This is several months ago, but this property is still for sale. And I said, hey, what's going on with the area? And she said, well, the reason he's able to pull in such high numbers and he self-manages, this gentleman, is that when he gets complaints from the guests, he has a strict cancellation policy. So if they call and go, hey, I'm scared to death, I'm not staying here. He's like, you have a non-refundable stay piece. And he keeps their money. And I'll never forget her telling me this. And I kind of cringed because as a property, I look at everything as if I'm going to manage it moving forward. And I just thought, could I look myself in the mirror doing that to guests? I don't know.
No, never. Some people can, but I can't. I've always been the one to be, hey, cancel this, give them their money back. Um, it just seems to be the best route. Just it's
Yeah.
easier in my opinion.
If I agree with the guests, I do that as well. Sometimes they're being rude, and that's
Yeah.
different. But I'm just saying, who am I to say, oh, you don't feel safe there? Frankly, I didn't feel safe there, and I was there in the middle of the day. I haven't even been there at night. But
Mhm.
I was like, wow, 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 wow. You've got a luxury short-term rental here. And it bothered me. And I just, do I want to have more properties and more, units under management? Yeah, I want to make money, but I there's a cost to that. I don't think that I'm willing to incur.
Yeah. And another thing I learned, like Airbnb doesn't care about your guests either. Like we think, so I was learning the other day, we think Airbnb wants to refund these guests all the time. They actually don't. And the
Hmm.
reason is because when they start refunding guests, like they lose money. Like they want host to keep the money because when the host keeps the money, they get paid.
Hmm.
When they have to refund, they're not getting paid. So that's another thing like that I've noticed Airbnb is like, hey, like because they're having this hard time with those kind of properties. They're like, this is making us look so bad, and hotels are starting to kind of trickle in on that, and they're kind of saying, hey, like, do you see this? Like, just come stay at hotels because like this battle between hotels and Airbnbs. So what Airbnb's doing is like, first of all, they want money. If they have to refund the guests, that's money out of their pocket. Like
Yeah.
that's why they can't like if we cancel, that's why they take so much money from us so they can still get paid. Like it's all about them getting paid. They don't care about the guests. Like I was learning about that the other day. And then another thing is like if your property has like those kind of reviews and like just like bad reviews, they do not want your property to get booked because this is how they think. They're like, hey, if this property has a chance for us having to refund guests, we don't want it booked because that's a possibility for us to lose money. So that's something to keep in mind too. It's super interesting. And the CEO is just kind of straight up about that. Like this is the CEO of Airbnb and saying, so yeah, it was super interesting. Like that's something to keep in mind. Like your properties need to be like pristine. Like if they're not, Airbnb is going to be like, hey, we don't want you. They're going to try to force you off, basically. They don't want you on their platform because you're going to lose them money essentially.
They're waking up just as we are. And may I say, they bury the property. Once they get a bad review on it, it
They
drops
bury
way
it.
down.
And they admit that.
You're absolutely, yes, they do. And I respect it. They're going, look, this clearly isn't a great product. And now sometimes you have a Karen that's toasted you and it's not fair. And I have a big issue with that. But
Yeah.
I also respect that they're going, look, this is a problem child. We're going to drop this down. Well, and then we have owners that are going, hey, I can't find my property on Airbnb. They hid your property. That's because it's not a great
They're
many complaints that they're now burying it at the very bottom and praying you don't book it. I mean, there's other places you can book they're going to get good reviews on. So
Yeah, it's like if you go on Airbnb, the website right now, to the homepage, like just look at the properties that they're advertising on the homepage. That just tells you what they want. Like they're like, hey, this is the properties we want. Keep your bad neighborhood property away from our site.
absolutely. And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Um, and then so the next house that we went to, it was a whole nother level of terrible, may I say. We had another owner needing management, and it happened to be a quadplex. And I was like, cool. And first off, I want to say we drove in the neighborhood. It's a C minus, maybe a D class neighborhood. It was, what would you rate that neighborhood, Chandler? It was not great. It wasn't like
Yeah.
the hood
Yeah.
C minus. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it was like the hood, like I'm going to die, but there were definitely two homeless guys wandering about. There are definitely, just not very well kept up houses. Like I didn't feel unsafe, but I immediately from the neighborhood was like, no. Well, then we get to the property, and I don't want to give too much identifying information, but as soon as I pulled in the driveway, I wanted to leave. It didn't even look like a house. It looked more like a strip mall, or I'm not even sure. It was a funky, like,
Sure.
look was funky. And then whatever they did to rehab it, I'm going to say in quotes, it
No,
was
sadly, so I always keep like multifamily filtered on my phone. So I saw this come up last year and I was like, holy, 4 units. Like, what in the world is this? You start going through the pictures and you're like, what did they do to this house? Like, you can't find half this stuff. Like, it was just a complete, like, a shed into a studio.
right. That's right.
They,
Horrible.
who, and first of all, it was for sale for like $500,000. I was like, who's going to spend $500,000 on this? And sure enough, someone spent 450 on it. And I was like, not a good idea. But yeah.
Well, that property could be nice if you put another 200,000 into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could make it better. It just takes money. But this owner, doesn't have it. They've already furnished it. And you could tell that this person put a lot into the decor. Like you could tell that they really tried to make it cute and match and have different features for the guests. I loved it. But at the same time, the neighborhood was still terrible. And the overall rehab was so bad. I mean, Chandler, I kept begging you to watch your head. Like I was worried you were going to get decapitated. The ceiling fans, and Chandler's tall, but not excessively tall. What are you, 6'2", 6'3", Chandler?
Yeah. So,
Yeah. And I mean, the blades of the fan are at your eyeballs. I mean, to me, I kept seeing as an owner of a business that would be representing this property, I kept going, I'm going to get sued because someone's going to lose an eye. At one point, we were trying to get into one of the units, and there's a metal awning, and there's metal screws coming through the awning, and you almost put one into your forehead as you were ducking. And I was like, oh, please watch your head. I felt like the whole time I was saying, watch your head, watch your head. And then
yeah.
there were even like drains that had like drain covers that were loose. I don't know what you call them. Not really a drain, but like I just saw lawsuit everywhere. It was scary to me, actually.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed was just from listening to the owner, I think he's been having a hard time for the year that he's had it.
Yeah.
And I think from listening, he had already tried to arbitrage it. And so that's like the arbitrage guy came in and furnished it really nicely, and he wasn't able to make money. So I think the arbitrage guy was like, I'm out. So now they're just trying to find somebody that will just take it on, and it's probably he's probably trying to have to go through it and be like, he's gonna have to sit down and be like, hey, this is really low rent, long term rentals, and I'm not even sure how I would pivot with that property because it was just so the layout was so oddly designed.
Yeah.
It was really strange.
I think he's probably gonna need to just get rid of the property, but I don't know how. I don't know, but I just know as a manager, I'm looking at how many issues there are with the property itself, not the decor, just the property and the neighborhood. And as property managers, we'd have to deal with that. He wants that to become our problem where we take in the phone calls because our job is to make stuff look great online. It's going to look good in photos. I know we can make it look good, but when the guest comes in and realizes they've been had, they're going to call and yell at us. They're going to call and complain. They're going to cancel their stay. They're going to do. And I was just like, we're not going to make enough. We're not going to make any money managing this at all. And why am I in business if I'm going to go out of business? Like I just really didn't see anything in it for us. I see a little bit in it for the manager where he doesn't have to deal with, I mean, the manager, the owner, where he doesn't have to deal with it and he can actually make some money. But when you have a rough property, you're going to have upset guests, and it's our job to deal with that. And that is not free. That takes hours of staff time, hours and hours of staff time to handle. It's just, I just saw pitfalls everywhere.
Yeah, and like as an investor, I don't think just because it's 4 units, you don't need to buy it. Like I would never buy something that's that so put together. Like investors have got to get out of this like let me make a 1,200 square foot home into 4 units and put as many beds as I can. I see so many investors trying to do stuff like that. Not 12, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's how investors think. And sometimes it drives me crazy at least because I'm like, at the end of the day, I want to provide a good product to these people that live in it too, Like I don't want to provide this janky product. Like, I want people to be like, you know what, this is like really nice. Um, so investors quit doing this janky stuff. Like just provide a really nice product. And I think if you provide the nice product, you'll get paid what it's worth. Like, like if you don't, you're gonna lose money.
Well, and you got to buy right as well. Like
Yeah.
in my opinion, this person overpaid and now is trying so hard to just get his bills covered. He can't do it. But he overpaid in the first place. He's got a bad product, and then, the revenue absolutely reflects what the product is, which is not
Yeah.
good. So the revenue is not good. Like those two things go together. He can't change the neighborhood. Best case scenario, he makes it into a long-term rental. But even as a property manager for long-term rentals, I still would not manage that place because I see lawsuit potential everywhere. And I
Yeah.
would be like, I'm going to need you to put another few $1,000s into fixing all these issues that I see. Like, there's no way. Like, I'm so sorry, but people are very litigious, and it was really tough. It was really
Yeah.
tough to say that. I tried to get out of it, not saying anything negative about the property. The owner, I just said, hey, it's not for us. I wish you all the best. And then the owner called me. I want feedback. And I said, I can't consciously put guests in that neighborhood. I can't consciously put guests in that home. I'm so sorry. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, that's a tough conversation because I'm not here to be mean to anyone, but it's beyond my capabilities. The owners that I think I can manage for them in another way, like long-term rental management, or if I could list the property, I would have given him those options. I didn't even give him those options. I just said no. That's how bad I felt the property was.
Yeah. And he probably appreciates that feedback. I mean, it's not, if you want to make everybody happy, go sell ice cream. If you want to give people good feedback, um, it's just part of that business. So,
Well, our reputation is all we have, and we don't help ourselves lying to owners and buyers and things like that. We're only going to get a good reputation and maintain a good reputation by telling the truth and putting out a good product and backing up what we say. I think that's so important.
yeah, I just want investors to, and a lot of people like, I feel like for real estate investors, they want to like just get a property.
Yeah.
Like from my experience, like just be patient, look, and then when the right opportunity comes, jump on it. Most people like jump, like you see it, like I can use the stock market as an example. Like people wait for the stock to go up and they feel like they're missing out and they buy at the top. Like wait for the opportunity for it to absolutely crash when nobody wants it. Like as an investor, you buy when nobody wants it, not when it's at the top. So like just be patient and then jump on it like when it comes about. Like be super like just make sure it's a good product. Don't be like, oh, I need real estate right now. Like
Well, in this quad, Chandler, let's talk about this quad. This is a great example. You said it was for sale for what, 520, and the buyer bought it for 450.
it
Is that
was, yeah, it was honestly it went pretty quick. I was I saw it listed and I was like, this is gonna be tough to sell. And then I saw it went. I was like, okay, but I don't know.
I was just going to say, as an agent, right now we're seeing things sit. It's soft. It's always soft this time of year. I'm in no way saying the Savannah market is in trouble. Savannah market's great, but it's soft. And as an agent, I'm like, I was thinking about this and I didn't bother to talk to the guy, but I was like, I wish I would have represented you because from what you were telling me, this property did sit for a while. But the longer it sits, the more aggressive we've got to be on that price. And I truly think this guy could have been okay had he been more aggressive on the sales price. I agree with you. It looks like he got really excited about buying a quad for 450. That sounds cool. But when you look at the product did not match the price. And I'm like, he probably didn't pull his numbers very well because I think he's going to maybe get 800 a unit on that. And there's no way the long-term rent is going to even cover the bills. So I feel like in a way, I wish he would have been more aggressive on his purchase price because he definitely took over someone else's problem. He absolutely took over someone else's problem.
Yeah,
But speaking over of other people's problems, we have a fourth house that we were going to talk about as well, which we will not be managing. We would have, but we had an owner buy a property. Unfortunately, they paid too much, and they tried to flip it. Okay, and it sat for almost 2 months. I think this is last year when they tried to sell it. They bought it, they rehabbed it, and then they tried to sell it. It did not sell. Well, seeing what was going on with short-term rentals, they said, well, hey, this is our backup plan. We're going to put furniture inside and we're going to rent this as a medium-term rental because you can't legally do a short-term rental there. Well, the guests were disasters. They weren't paying enough. And so the owner sent you and I in and he said, I want options. So you and I went over to check out this house. We had no idea what we're going to deal with. It was actually a decent house and the neighborhood was okay. I mean, I would say that's B class, maybe B minus, but it was definitely in the B's.
I
Um,
mean, yeah, it's some if somebody's paying 580 for the house across the street,
yeah,
like that's a sophisticated
that's a
neighborhood.
decent area. Yeah, I agree. We walked in, the floor plan was just okay. The furniture was okay. We could have worked with what we had there. But then he wanted us to give him numbers on running it, continuing it as a medium-term rental. Now we have to now replace a lot of the stuff that was broken by the other guests. The tenant was in for quite a while. But I flat out advised him not to because when he told us, he said, my mortgage on this place is $3,000 a month. And I said, what? I was really shocked that he had that much in it. And when we ran our numbers, I said, this is probably going to bring around 4,000 a month. But we've got to put money in it to get the furniture back up and running, and the owner's paying utilities. And by the time he puts all this money into it, I've got to add to the end of that conversation. On medium-term rentals in Savannah right now, we're looking at about 65% occupancy. Can you stomach that? And he flat out was like, absolutely not. He was kind of upset. But again, I'm going to tell them the truth. And that's what we're seeing everywhere. Short-term rental, medium-term rental. Right now, we're at 65% occupancy. So you have to be aware of that. This is not going to be a cash cow at this point, especially based on him having a $3,000 a month payment.
Yeah, and another thing, this was a house that an investor tried to awkward layout. They tried to add on to the house, kind of like the last house, the 4 unit suite. They tried to add on to it, and you walk right, you're like, what is this? And there's a little tiny bedroom, but there's this huge space, and there's this huge office with nothing in it but a little desk. Um, it was just like investor, it just spit investor. You're like, gosh, an investor did this. Um, but yeah, it's I think the house could be okay. Like the layout does screw everything up because we tried to go. I tried to go comp a medium term rental, and there's a very nice house up for rent, but I mean very nice for 6,000 a month, and it actually rented. Like I kept my eye on it. I saved it, and I was like, let me see if this thing actually rents.
Great decor, great
And
neighborhood, all the
this
things.
looked like a
Parts of it.
magazine.
Yeah.
It looked like straight from a magazine, basically. Um, and there's people out there that'll pay 6,000 a month, but they spent so much money. And honestly, at 6,000 a month, I don't think that house is making money. That's the thing. Like it just paid 6,000 a month. I still don't think that house because they paid 800 and then they probably spent another 100 to decorate it.
Wow.
So they
Yeah,
need,
I agree. They're not.
uh,
Even at
yeah,
6,000, they're paying management. And, when you're responsible not just for the property, but for every stick of furniture in that house, every sheet, it's a heavy lift on the turnovers and the expectation of the guest. Someone paying 6 grand a month, they expect everything to be perfect. And that's a lot of work to make it perfect. So yeah, no, I agree. The comp we found, this owner wanted 6,000 a month. And we said, well, there's another comp at 6,000 a month.
yeah, but
It's
go look at
better.
it.
Like it has the open floor plan. It's modern. I mean, this house does not have an open anything. Like you kind of walk into the kitchen sink. It's kind of bizarre. And so then his next question was, okay, well, can we put it as a long-term rental? And we said, oh, we would love to manage this as a long-term rental. It looks like it's going to bring in 2,900 a month as a long-term rental.
Yeah,
If that, right, that's the top right now for a four-bedroom. And
yeah,
again, it's kind of a funky layout. I don't know that someone's going to walk in and be like, I have to have this house. It's so amazing. It's a just okay house in a good neighborhood. So that's probably going to affect things. So once he really looked at the rental comps, he said, I'm out. He's tired of losing money on this property. He's actually going to sell. Hopefully he does well on the sale, but at least this guy has options, right? And he understood. He literally told us, it's about the numbers for me. I'm going to go with the numbers that I like best. So we pulled him all kind of numbers and he ended up deciding that he's going to list it. We're just going to give away all the furniture and get rid of it for him. And then he's going to list it. And, unfortunately, that's probably the best case scenario for a lot of things, right now on the market. They just need to let the furniture go and be done with the property because if you bought wrong in the beginning, it's just very, very hard to make
yeah.
that up later.
It's hard to recover from that. And I feel like here's another thing is I feel like you can fix it, but it's hard to fix a bad layout. Like it's like that's another thing you got to keep in mind is like don't screw up your home to try to add this extra thing. Like, and if you do, just like keep it simple. Like don't like quit screwing up the layouts because it hurts the sellability. I think that's it's gonna be a tough sell because it's like where am I walking into? Like the layout is because you got to think probably families want to buy this home and they're gonna walk in and be like, this is not my dream home or whatever. So
Yeah. Well, and honestly, on the layout, if you're going to be rehabbing it anyway, instead of focusing on getting as many bedrooms as possible, could they have taken down even one or two walls and made it a nice layout? But you could tell they weren't thinking that at all. They literally like, let's get the most bedrooms in here as possible. And then I think it already had two bathrooms, but they wanted to make I think they turned a 3-2 into a 4-2, thinking money, money, money. But it made the layout worse because they shoved a bedroom where you clearly needed a garage or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I kept thinking, when you walk in, if they would have just opened up the wall between the living room and the kitchen, it would have been a much better house. So, anyway, it's tough. It's just such a tough market right now. I just want to encourage everyone, just like what Chandler's saying, don't buy a house just to buy a house. Make sure you have the right product in the right area with the right plan. But the one thing I have been saying since I started in this business is I will never, ever buy a property that I can't rent as a long-term rental. If the numbers work as a long-term rental, you can do 48 more things with that. You can turn it in, you can rent by the bedroom, you can do short-term rentals, you can do medium-term rentals, you can do long-term rentals, you can sell it, blah, 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 blah. But give yourself that out to where you go, look, worst case scenario, I rent this long term. And I have many units that I have now ripped the furniture out of and just made into long term rentals. And I'm very happy. I'm fine. I'm making actually more money now than I was as a medium term rental because they were in C grade neighborhoods. And C grade neighborhoods have no business anymore hosting furnished rentals. That's my opinion. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it till people listen.
yeah, no, I agree. I think um, I agree. I agree. I have nothing to say to that because I've seen it happen. I understand like what people want to book. I understand why they're not booking. So just like educate yourself. Like just don't jump into short-term rentals blindly. So do the research, put the work in,
Absolutely. And again, you can always furnish it later. Like if the neighborhood isn't quite there, but it's coming, you see the flips going on. Hey, rent it for a couple years and then furnish it. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. I may do that with some of mine. I may rip the furniture out, long-term rental for a while, and then put furniture back in. And the other thing that I'm really proud to say that we've talked about just a little bit, but I want to hammer it home one more time is like put out a good product and you're going to attract the best tenants, whether it's a
Hmm.
long-term rental or a furnished rental. I go a little bit extra on my rehabs. Do I want to do that? No, but I fully recognize that that home is going to last longer. Like I'm going to talk about a bathroom. I would save money doing laminate plank flooring, LVP or whatever in the bathroom. That's cheaper for me. I will never again do that because it's so easy for water. They tell you it's waterproof, but that's a lie. You get too much water with laminate plank flooring, it comes up. And I've made that mistake on a few of my houses because I was told it was waterproof. It's BS. So now from now on, I never put laminate plank flooring in a bathroom. I don't put anything but tile, even if it's wood, and I love all wood. But I'm going to take tile through the shower all the way onto the floor, and it's going to be that is a waterproof floor and that is going to last multiple tenants. So if I'm going to put money in, I'm really going to make it nice today and I want it to stay nice for the next 20 years. That's extremely important to me not to be, short-sighted with that.
Yeah, no doubt. I think some people get so caught up on like doors instead of like maximizing, which I want to say I talked about a few weeks ago. Like maximize your one door and then move to the next.
That's right.
Some people might disagree on that, but that's my thing.
Well, the better the product, the better the tenant. The better the tenant, hopefully the longer they stay, right? You're going to make the most money as for as long-term rentals. If someone moves in and they stay there for years, the more turnover you have, the more losses you're going to have. So we see in these not so great products, people want out. They go, okay, I'll take it for now, but as second I find something better, I'm going to move. You don't want that as a landlord. You want them to move in, be happy, and stay.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and then another thing that kind of might switch your mindset is like if you're doing like a long-term rental, like investing really is a way to not lose your money that you're already making. If you're investing in a bad product, you're just going to continue to lose the money that you're already making. Like that's not why we invest. Like we
Yeah,
invest so that we can keep our purchasing power for the long term. And if you're having to just constantly repair stuff and just band-aid, like you're just losing money. So like keep that in mind like when you're investing. Investing is for so you don't lose money. So
very true. Put more money in it on the front end and then put less money into it on the back end.
so if you have it. But well, we appreciate y'all coming on today. I know that was a pretty long one, but we hope you stuck to the end. Some pretty good nuggets in there. Um, but yeah, please like share this, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you want to hear. We appreciate the feedback. Let us know if you even listen. I love when somebody comes up and say, "Hey, like I listened to you," and I'm like, "Oh, you do? I didn't think anybody listened." But let us know, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.